This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Everybody, welcome to This Week in the NFL, Week 8. I'm one of your hosts, the Cowboy, joined by my partner in crime and favorite guy in the world, and incredible analyst, John D'Amato. How you doing, John?
I can't live up to that praise, but thank you. I appreciate it. You're too kind. And it was great to hang out with you Sunday. We got our 1 o'clock games in, got our analysis in, and then we were a little busy for the 4 o'clock games, but we still managed to follow a little bit on the phones and catch up on analysis later. And we didn't miss much with that. That 8 o'clock game was a disaster, as we figured. So we had a good time. So
a great time was had by all, and
we didn't miss anything.
I know it's a football show, but that was the last match. Maybe for a long time where Seth and Dean were friends.
Oh yeah, that's right. The second to last one, where they officially
that was it.
Blew it up the next night. Yeah.
So a little wrestling talk there. Sorry, fans. I know we have a lot of cross listeners, so I think that's okay.
And of course, another tradition is this is the night after another Red Sox victory, which is I think you're planning it this way. I love how
it just works out this way, man. They win a lot.
Yes.
I mean, what do you want? They win a lot. If night after a victory, it's like 3 nights a week. You know, it's almost 50% of the week.
Yeah, that's another thing we can't talk about too much. It might turn off our legions of fans. I don't think there's too many Red Sox fans out there. But
hey, you know what?
The more you win, the more hate.
Nice performance in Game 1. That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, it's a lot of hate when you win a lot, but which I wouldn't know with any of my teams.
They're going to turn it around one of these days.
No time soon.
All right, so pleasantries are over. Let's talk a little Week 7, talk a little Week 8, borrow something from Jalen Rose. We'll give the people what they want. What do you say, John?
Yeah, let's get dirty.
So, Week 7, kind of an interesting week, scoring down a little bit across the league. Not a lot of upsets. Things kind of played true to form, but there were a couple of games that I wanted to talk to you about, get your thoughts on. First and foremost, it's a game that we previewed pretty extensively. The Carolina going into Philly, coming off a loss to the Redskins. We'll throw out there. Carolina going into Philly. We both liked Philly. We've both kind of been on Philly. And Philly just blows a 17-0 lead in the fourth quarter, loses the game. They're sitting at 3-4. I know the division is not great, which was proven out yet again. But they are a game and a half back now of the Redskins, who beat the Cowboys. And to me, I mean, there has to be some concern if you're blowing 17-point leads at home when you're supposed to have one of the best defenses in the league. You won the Super Bowl, yada yada yada. What do you think, John? What do you think about that game?
This game was they looked like the Panthers kind of just lulled them to sleep. The Eagles had everything in control. And then all of a sudden, up until the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter, the Panthers just turned it on, and the Eagles could do nothing to stop it. As a matter of fact, I was at a rare Sunday social function. Usually I watch the games with my favorite company, myself, where I could analyze and look at things different. But I was at a social function with a couple of Eagles fans, and they were chilling, happy the whole game, tee-hee, and they were very comfortable. And then all of a sudden, just 10 minutes left, the Panthers took the game over miraculously, and it was so quick, and the Eagles could do nothing to stop it. Just unexplainable.
Yeah, and I mean, it was kind of interesting watching the game. If it sounds like you did watch the game, that It was like the announcers started talking about Carolina needing to score every time that they had the ball, and then they just did it. Like it was like touchdown, touchdown, stop, touchdown, stop, touchdown, stop, game over. Like craziness. But I agree with you. I mean, lulled them to sleep. I mean, Carolina did nothing the first 3 quarters of the game. I mean, they looked like a
they couldn't even get a first down. That's why the Eagles fans were so confident. Carolina looked so incompetent on offense. I don't understand how they were just able to just flip the switch, or maybe it was the Eagles that just got too lax.
Cam Newton's a hell of a player.
Oh, of
right?
course.
I mean,
and McCaffrey too.
And you're not going to hold him down generally for a whole game. Yes, the Eagles D gave up 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but I pinned this on the O a little bit too. All they had to do in the fourth quarter, one decent drive where they ate the clock a little bit, and Carolina can't make that comeback. No matter how you slice it, it's a bad loss, and they might not be a good team.
Yeah, their lack of a running game is starting to take in the loss of Ajayi as Smallwood couldn't get it done, and it looked like Clement had an early fumble and he was punished and then didn't get much run. So we'll see what they do there.
Yeah, you've heard them linked a little bit to Le'Veon Bell. They've denied it.
Or Shady, yeah. That's quieted down. There was more talk of that last week. That's quieted down this week because kind of with the London trip, they can't really do much. But the trade, I'm sure it'll pick up again next week. I believe the trade deadline is next week.
Yes, correct. So,
yeah.
I mean, they'd have to be willing to pay Bell to do that. But I mean, I think it is going to take some kind of shot in the arm like that. I mean, I guess part of it might be that Wentz isn't, isn't all the way back from that injury.
He showed flashes. He's shown flashes, and also Alshon Jeffrey is back, and them two have a good chemistry.
He's been great.
Yes,
I mean, he's been a lot better than he was last year. He was playing hurt all last year. He looks like a legit number 1 receiver for them. And Ertz has been good.
Ertz has been phenomenal, just good.
I mean, they look like on paper they look fantastic, but they just they're having trouble winning games. Unfortunately,
they have all those pass rushers, and but it just seemed like they ran out of gas towards the end. There, they didn't, or either that, they didn't really. Like I said, Carolina kind of lulled them to sleep. They didn't expect Carolina to make that run, and they ran out of gas.
So, real interesting game for the Eagles this week, going to London, where they play Jacksonville, who, similar to the Eagles, not exactly lighting the world on fire right now. Bortles got benched this week. We'll talk more about that game in a little bit. But Bortles got benched this week. But Bortles historically has been just phenomenal in London, specifically. I call this a must-win game for both teams. I think it's a must-win game for both teams. I think the loser of this game misses the playoffs. What do you think?
I don't think so, because both divisions are both divisions. Both teams could easily get to 9-7, and that'll probably win either division. So I wouldn't call it a must. But good point on Jacksonville. They've won their last 3 in London, so in their future home stadium, they kind of have some mojo there. That's the only reason why, if you get to it, I'd lean towards them. Even though it's hard to pick Jacksonville the way they look lately, but they seem to have the routine down as far as the travel and all that in London. So that kind of gives them the edge. Although the Eagles are 3-point favorites.
Yeah, you got to think both. I mean, if it's not a must-win, it's close. You got to think both teams are going to be desperate. In theory, these are 2 good teams, specifically 2 good defenses that have not been playing very much.
And they're both fortunate that they're in up and down divisions, mostly down. So
and I mean, Philly's D gets the easier matchup. I mean, clearly Jacksonville's offense is not as good as Philadelphia's, but Bortles is a streaky kind of a he's the ultimate like hit or miss guy. Like he doesn't have like an in between. He's either doing what he did against the Patriots and looking like an MVP caliber quarterback, or he's getting benched mid game for Cody Kessler, the king of the dink and dunkers. He led him to a touchdown. Their only touchdown drive was Cody Kessler, but it's a dangerous spot for Philly because if Bortles comes out and plays the way he's played in London before, they're really tough to beat when he's on. And, to your point, John, the game being in London, I mean, I think there's a case to be made for Jacksonville here.
Yeah, I think you could make a better case that it's more of a must game for Philly because on their schedule they have to go to New Orleans and they have to go to Los Angeles to face the Rams. And also at Dallas, who've been monsters at home. So those are three tough ones. And looking at the Jacksonville schedule, it is pillow soft. They still have the Colts twice. They got Buffalo, Miami, Houston. Really, their toughest game is home versus the Steelers, and also their home versus Washington, the Redskins. So their schedule is really very favorable if they could just get it together. So they could sustain a loss here more than the Eagles can. Yeah,
it's still tough. I mean, 3-5 to get to 9-7, you got to go 6-2 the rest of the way, right?
Yeah, but they have the perfect schedule to do that if they could just get it together. Because after this, they'll have their bye and they can reconvene. So I would call this more of a must-win for Philly, but I still lean towards Jacksonville.
All right. So Philly's going to be out of the playoffs. That's what we're thinking.
I'm starting to lean towards that because looking at that schedule is rough. They're going to regret that Carolina game, especially. They're going to regret, and also losing to like Tampa and Tennessee. They had a couple soft touches early that they may regret later because they got some real tough ones coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we already talked. I think that the other real interesting game of the past week was. Two more. Texans, Jaguars. So the Texans with the what do you call it? The least impressive 3-game winning streak in the history of football. Is it now the least impressive 4-game?
Yeah, easily. Well, you got to give that defense credit. I mean, they got a couple taps on Bortles and Butterfingers Bortles. Botched it and gave him a couple turnovers, but the Texans' offense still hasn't really hit their stride yet. But they're doing enough to win.
That's being pretty kind.
Yeah,
but at least this week, Watson didn't turn it over.
Right, you got DeAndre Hopkins.
You don't want to say manage the game because it has such a negative connotation, but this was, shows a little bit of growth because in this game, all he needed to do was manage the game and not give Jacksonville short fields because Jacksonville was just useless offensively. And he did that. Lamar Miller had a good game running the ball, which was pretty surprising against that vaunted Jacksonville defense. But kind of, that this division is really good for unwatchable football. This was one of those, not the most, I guess it's a D'Amato special, right? Because you like the defense, but
yeah,
it was not the most exciting game you ever see. Not too worried about getting up to go to the bathroom, like you're going to miss anything. But at the end of the day, the Texans get it done. They're sitting at 4-3. Surprising 4-3, like we talked about after it looked like, a hopeless start. 4-game winning streak. It's a bad division.
Yeah, much like the Jaguars, their schedule isn't too challenging. Looking, I see they have to go at Washington and at Philly. Those are about the two tough ones. Then they got. Maybe at the Jets will be a little daunting in December.
It's an easy schedule when we're talking when that comes up as a difficult game. I mean, I know the Jets are playing better, but they get Miami, they get the Brock Star this week on Thursday Night Football. So I know. I think we put the jinx. We put the jinx on the great Thursday night football games.
Oof. This one is
the Brock Star going into Houston does not scream excitement to me.
Especially, I think I just saw that Al Wilson is out for the Dolphins, which is
yeah, but Devontae Parker's coming back.
Yeah, I think his agent complimented Adam Gase or something. Said his offense is incompetent or something.
It's a fair point. But
I don't know if it's the coach. You can only work with you got to work with what talent you have. And
it's a good point. I mean, they didn't play that bad against Detroit.
Yeah, but still at home versus a dome team, you gotta if you want to be taken serious, you got to come up with that one.
Yeah, I mean Detroit ran all over them.
I mean if you want to get it to them, that's a team we've been shitting on, but I think I'm gonna have to start to come around on them.
Yeah, they can run the ball, play a little bit of D. Good quarterback. Good.
Kerry and Johnson and Galladay are emerging as superstars there. To kind of take
speaking about their running game, I mean, they haven't had a decent running back since Barry Sanders. Or, you never know with the running backs. They haven't had a running game, really, since Barry Sanders left. And finally, this kid looks like they struck gold with that pick. I mean, he's making stuff happen on his own. And then, you get a good, solid guy in LeGarrette Blount behind him, taking some of the carries, showing him the Patriot way, him and Patricia, just showing him how to win.
Jeez. It's a shocker, but I got to give them credit. They look to be building something, and then they got a gift. They got a gift from New York to boost up their defensive line. Nice, Snacks Harrison to help them stuff the run there. It's a decent gift.
I mean, I agree with so it's another thing we can talk about. There have been a few trades here. The Giants have unloaded over the last couple of days Eli Apple and Snacks Harrison, and Johnny Gruden, the Raiders, unloaded Amari Cooper. Let's talk about the Cooper trade first to the Cowboys.
Yeah, wow, first round pick.
It's a lot. I mean,
yeah,
I'm the first guy to shit all over Gruden, but I mean, as poorly as I think they did in the Khalil Mack trade, I think this is a good trade for them. Cooper's been inconsistent, and to recoup a first, I mean, not a lot of guys get traded for a first round pick.
Yeah, especially mid-season, and his numbers have been real down since that great year from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he seems to have. I mean, he's got all the physical talent in the world, but he's not a real precise route runner. He doesn't have great hands. I mean, some of it I think is the offense he was in, but I don't really see Dallas being much of an improvement for him. I mean, that's. It's another. Dallas is very much a ball control offense. Dak is not really slinging it around. And so, I mean, his numbers I don't think are going to improve. What I do think is that he will be able to help take the top off the defense for them. Basically,
yeah, I didn't like from the Cowboy stance. I didn't like giving up a one.
I think he will help. I did say he would help kind of take the top off the defense. I mean, you watch a Cowboys game, every team puts 9 guys in the box against them and tries to stop Zeke because they have zero threats on the outside. So he'll help there, but steep price to pay.
Yeah, because his production has really gone down, and it looks like he's actually bulked up and kind of lost some speed. He's actually averaging less yards than Cole Beasley, the guy who I really like, who Dallas already has. But Beasley's not really a number one receiver, so it could help. But I don't think a number one that was a lot to give up. So that's a good move by Gruden.
Good move by Gruden in a sea of misery. So the other, like we had said, Snacks Harrison and Eli Apple traded from the Giants. Do you have any thoughts there, John?
I see a large tank driving right outside the house on the way to New Jersey. They're loading up the tank. It's
Clearly.
it's quite a spectacle to see that 2 years in a row from 3-13, and you might even be less. So last year was for the big running back, and next year it's for the big quarterback. But the bottom line is when you have one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and also one of the worst defensive lines in the league, that's where the games are won, in the trenches, the line play. And for on this 5-year run of hideous football, the Giants have been in the bottom 5 on offensive line and defensive line, and so they have to stack up draft picks, and you still have to make the right choices. Last year they fired the coach and the GM, and here comes a GM, and he revamps the offensive line, but he just replaced shit with more manure. They made Nate Solder the highest paid offensive lineman in the history of football, and he's escorting guys to the quarterback right now. So it's not a good look. At least the new regime, they recognize the problem, but their solutions so far are not so much. And the next one to look for is Olivier Vernon, a very high contract for
huge money.
For low productivity. I mean, he's a decent player, but he's not worth that salary they're paying. He's not a game changer like a Terrell Suggs or something, and he's getting paid like a Terrell Suggs. So that'll be the next move to look for if anybody's looking for a defensive lineman. Give us a call. Patriots, maybe you guys could use. You guys.
I think we would maybe take him for nothing. I don't think.
Yeah, 6th-round draft pick or something. You see, the Giants aren't asking for much, and also this new regime's trying, but this giant disaster is the cause of terrible draft picks. When you get 2 top 10 draft picks in a row and you use them on Eric Flowers and Eli Apple, that sets your franchise back 4 or 5 years, and we're seeing that right now with horrible drafting from 3-4 years ago. It's taking its toll right now because the depth just isn't there in key positions like cornerback and defensive end, and they're getting killed. They can't stop anybody on 3rd down. They have a multitude of problems that we could talk about, but we only got an hour show, so let's keep it moving.
You think Apple's a guy who can, with the change of scenery, going to New Orleans, you think he can help them?
Physically, he's got the talents, but mentally, he's just he had issues. He seems like he's a mama's boy. His mom worked in the media and was giving comments on the game. That's usually not a good look, and that's usually not something that you're gonna get a lot of respect from your teammates when your mommy has to give her critiques on how her son is playing or whatever. He seems to be a mama's boy, not a good attitude, not really a hard worker, not really loved by his teammates. Landon Collins really shit on him.
That was last year,
bad.
Right?
Yeah, and he even started up again at the beginning of this year, and then Sherman had to tell him to shut the fuck up. So that's why, even though Sherman's having a rough start, I kind of like a couple things that he's trying to change the culture, but it's hard when there's a lot of bad apples in there, and they're trying to weed them out. So. We'll give him a mulligan this year, but it's going to be rough when you have to overturn your roster. You can't just do it in 1 year.
Yeah, and some other big names being thrown around the trade deadline. Patrick Peterson, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders are 3 names that I've heard. Everyone's vehemently in Arizona saying Peterson's not going anywhere, but I'm always under the where there's smoke, there's probably a little bit of fire. You could probably get him. I think you could probably get him for the right offer.
Yeah, how about Kansas City getting in on this? I mean, their defense really needs somebody that can make some plays because it looks like they have this prolific offense, but they're probably going to fall short unless they get somebody that could help them make a couple stops on the defense.
He'd be huge for them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, hey, that defense shut down the Red Rifle this week. I thought that game may be competitive. I mean, the KCD showed up for that one.
Wow, the Red Rifle, huh? That's I wouldn't pat myself on the back too hard for shutting down Cincinnati, but if they, if you want to go for, if you want to use that as some momentum, that's good for KC for their defense. But let's see how they got Green Bay, I believe. No, not Green Bay.
They have Denver this week.
Yeah.
Denver going into Kansas City rematch, right? Denver gave them a good game a couple of weeks ago.
I'm looking forward to that Monday night game versus the Rams. Then we'll see how the KC defense looks and see if they're playoff or Super Bowl ready.
I mean, nobody stops either one of those teams. There's no defense that's going to look good against.
Well, no, I think the Rams are stepping up on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Kansas City is very difficult to stop. That's a fun game. That was my Super Bowl prediction in the preseason, on our preseason show. So
the Chiefs and the Rams.
Chiefs Rams, correct?
Yeah. So what do you think? Does that have a better chance, or does Jaguars Falcons have a better chance?
Jaguars Falcons is in trouble.
You think so?
Let's get both teams to 500.
Are we going to go back to our picks now? What idiot picked that? Let me think. I think it's your PIC. I think picked that. But then,
that's all right. We all made some boner picks. I think I picked
the Giants to win the division. Yeah, sure.
I picked the Giants to win the
that
division.
one.
I did.
Yeah.
My rationale was not wrong in that I thought Philly would take a step back and not be as good. It's just I picked the wrong team. It's the Redskins. It's not the Giants.
I don't think the Redskins are gonna keep it up, but we'll see. They're hanging in there.
They get to go to New York this week, so the Redskins win at home. Like we both kind of liked, they're such a tough team to predict to win because they had looked so awful, but they got it done against the Cowboys at home. They sit at 4-2, and now they go to the Giants. The Giants are 1-6, kind of in disarray, kind of selling off pieces. It's a winnable road game for the Redskins, that's for sure.
Yeah, I got to give the lesser Gruden that gets lesser attention. You got to give him some credit. He keeps the Redskins hanging in there, but the end of that game, damn, Alex Smith is supposed to be the best game manager of all time, and he almost botched it when he ran out of bounds and gave Dallas life. That game shouldn't have came down to that field goal. So Alex Smith, who's not going to win you any games, and he's supposed to be this ultimate game manager. That was a big demerit for him. They shouldn't even made that competitive. They had that game in hand.
Oh, agreed. I think I give Gruden a lot of credit as well. Because if you've watched them, I think Alex Smith is he was never great, but I feel like he's lost a step. I mean, he's getting up there in age, and he really hasn't played very well. They're getting it done with, Peterson. God bless him. He's an impressive guy to be doing what he's doing, but the 33-year-old running back, and the defense has been good, right? Bit of a no-name defense right outside of Norman, but the defense has been good.
Swearinger has been almost a Pro Bowl level. Swearinger has been really making some plays this year for that defense. He really stands out.
Yeah, he's an excellent player. But it's you look up and it's like they beat they beat Carolina. Now they beat Dallas. Now they go to the Giants. Then they're home for the Falcons. Then they're at Tampa. These are all. All winnable games for them. If Jacksonville wins, we think they're gonna. This team could, as crazy as it is, start to run away and hide in the East.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna run, but you're absolutely correct. The schedule is very favorable. There's definitely you can see a path to 10-6 for the Redskins.
Yeah, and I'm not being a jerk, but they got the Giants twice, right?
It is what it is.
It should be a couple of wins.
A road game like at Tampa is not too tough of a road game. They do got to go to Dallas and Philly, and Jacksonville
and Tennessee.
Yeah, so you figure that's 3 out of 4. If you could take 1 out of those 4. but that's probably 3 losses right there to 5. And if they could just get through the other ones with only 1 loss, you're looking at a 10-6, and they do it. Yeah, Smith is still got the escapability, but also his weapons. Jordan Reed is in and out, and it seems like Vernon Davis is still one of his reliable receivers. The wide receivers aren't too dynamic there. They're not going to really make too many game-changing plays. So even on those easy games like this one coming up with the Giants, they're not really going to. Yeah, they're not going to run and hide. So
they're like the Titans. They're similar to the Titans. Like every game's like this rock fight, close game. Yeah, to say their wide receivers are not real explosive, I think and they're all hurt. It's an understatement when they're all healthy and they're all hurt. So it's keep it close and win the close ones, right? That's been a formula for success in the NFL for a while.
Yeah. Maybe this Gruden should have got the 110-year contract.
I mean, for all we say about Chucky, if you're going to blow it up, blow it up. So I agree with with the Cooper thing. The Mac thing I don't agree with just because he's like such a transcendent talent that even if you blow it up, like this really, like he's a guy who should be like a centerpiece of your team.
Of course, there's only like 4 or 5 guys in the league that could get to the quarterback at any time. Those are the guys that you need to win. Your Terrell Suggs, your Mack, and the few others, Aaron Donald. Those are the guys that you need to get. Because you see a lot of these games in the fourth quarter, nobody can stop anybody. The only way you could stop somebody is you got to get a hit on the quarterback.
Yep.
Just like we saw last year in the Super Bowl. That was the one play, the Eagles, Brandon Graham made one play, and that's the only way you can win because nobody can stop anybody anymore. You either need that shutdown cornerback, which were very few of those, or you need that guy that can get to the quarterback, not just in the first or second quarter and pad your stats with 3-4 sacks. In the fourth quarter, when the money's in line, when everybody's exhausted, who's going to get through on that 4-man rush?
Absolutely. So, talking about the Bears.
Hey,
heck of a game in Chicago.
Our boy Tim Slomka, one of our loyal listeners, was at the game, and he said he enjoyed it. The Bears put up a good fight, but unfortunately they went down. You can't give a team like the Patriots, you can't give a team 2 touchdowns on special teams, and also you can't throw 2 interceptions in Patriot territory. So far, Trubisky's been very elusive. He's been a dynamic runner, but passer, not so much. It needs a little work on. But that's part of why he was kind of one of the questions. And nowadays, these quarterbacks are just thrown in there without experience. So maybe in due time, with experience, he'll come that. But you can't. You got to play like a close to perfect game to beat the Patriots, and you're not going to win throwing 2 picks in their territory and giving up 2 touchdowns on special teams. They had a chance without Gronk to take them, and they just fell short. And that play at the end, that shows, for all the hate the Patriots get, 9 times out of 10, when you convert that Hail Mary pass,
the guy just falls into the end zone.
Yeah, the defenders panic, and the guy gets in the end zone. But this time, Darrell Harmon didn't panic, and he stood up White, and White barely gained an inch after he made the catch. You can say what you want, but the Patriots, whether it's coaching, whether it's luck, although it's ridiculous to say that that's luck when they're on a freaking 18-year dynasty. So for all you Patriots, I don't know what to tell you, but that play kind of typifies them.
Yeah. So what also kind of typifies them this season is not having much of a defense. Chicago, this game was on the table for them. The Pats couldn't really start. As bad as Trubisky was extremely inaccurate. I don't know if you watched this whole game, but Trubisky was, he was missing open guys left and right.
I'll give him a little bit of break. Those were 2 like superior plays. Those interceptions. They weren't like just.
I'm not just the picks, but just in general, he incomplete passes where he was missing. He was missing guys. It's a good win for the Patriots against Chicago is a good team, but
that's a tough road win, sure.
When you give up 31 and it probably should have been 45 to the Bears, it's another The Patriots have some work to do on defense. And, I mean, the offense is playing good, though. So, I mean, they played the best offense in the NFL and beat them 43-40. So, guess it is what it is.
James White is looking real impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about him. You always think of him as a complimentary back, but he's really been their most consistent, best weapon on offense all season. Brady. I mean, he's just really like on the same page as Brady, and he's one of those guys. He always makes the first guy miss. Always, that he's not a fumbler. Doesn't drop passes. He's just a good solid player, and probably a little bit more than that.
Nah, definitely more than that. It seems like every big third down, he's the guy that gets it. That I go back to that Chiefs game where it was where they were on that last drive where it was 3rd and 1, and it would have been dicey if they didn't get it to get a 4th down here, and he converted the 3rd down. He just seems to make every big play on 3rd down. Really, really like him. Yeah,
and you just wonder if he's one of those guys, because if you remember Deion Lewis last year,
of course, yeah,
in that role, just set the world on fire the whole second half of the season, then got some big money. I mean, he's been okay for Tennessee, but probably not worth what they're paying him. So I wonder if White will take the Gronkowski route and say, I just want to play with Tom.
Can you blame him?
No. But you just don't get paid as much playing with Tom, unfortunately.
What do you want? You want less money, or you want more wins? It all comes down to what you want.
So the Patriots have I hate to be overconfident, but what really seems essentially like a bye week this week. Monday Night Football going to Buffalo. Derek Anderson and the Bills coming off of just destruction, 37-5. They just got killed by the Colts. I know that this, McDermott they had the Minnesota game earlier this year where they were massive underdogs and they kicked Minnesota's ass. But, Belichick, I'm sure this week will be pointing to that game to say to the Patriots to not be overconfident. I mean, you have to see just an easy Pats win on Monday, right, John?
Let me see. It's a Monday night. The World Series is a travel day. That would be a good night to take your lady out to for a nice Monday night dinner. I don't
Buffalo
have
Wild Wings.
That's a nice. I don't have one, so I don't know. I'll find something to do on that Monday night. Probably take a late yoga class or something because I may have to skip the analysis of that.
We got to watch. You're not going to watch the Pats.
I'll
watch for us.
I'll
John.
DVR and skim through because I have a job to do. But that'll be a good night to
I'll give you all the analysis you need.
It'll be a good night to reunite with your lady and be a good husband that night.
I know she works on Sundays now, actually. So she set it
good
up.
Job.
She set it up specifically because I'm just watching football.
Yeah. So she's got to talk to somebody. It's a shame she has to, go to work.
We have
go to
Saturdays,
work to get somebody to talk to. You got it good. Happy wife, happy life.
Absolutely. Just celebrated my my 7-year wedding anniversary this week. So
congrats.
It's been a good 7. Hopefully another 37 to go at least.
Lucky 7.
More than 7. That's right. All right, so the other game I wanted to touch on was probably the best game of the week, New Orleans at Baltimore. You and I felt pretty strongly that Baltimore would get this done. Now with Breeze going on the road, outside, good defense, this is generally a game that the Saints lose. The Saints didn't lose, John. What do you think?
No, they didn't. And we're not going to state the obvious about the kick. That was just a Justin Tucker once in a lifetime. But for them to even hang in there, as a matter of fact, they had the lead. I would just like to see the Saints. I don't know if Eli Apple's going to be answered, but I just like to see the Saints. That they are improved on defense, but sometimes you let the defense make a big stop. They can't just rely on Breeze to bail them out every time. they're going to need a couple guys to just step up on defense if they want to compete with the Rams and which ultimately you want to compete or win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean their defense wasn't good in this game, but it was better than what it had been. They let Flacco walk right down the field on that game. What should have been the game tying drive, though.
Yeah, up until then, though, they hold him to 17 points. You're going to win most of the time with Breeze. Is going to score more than that. But it always seems like at the end of the game, like step up. And once again, they get to exercise their demons this week versus Minnesota. And then they got the Rams coming back. So that defense got a couple big tests coming up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was really impressed with the way they played in this one. They're for real. And to your point, these next two will really show you where they're at. Minnesota's playing well. Minnesota started out a little shaky, but they're playing well. At Minnesota, Sunday Night Football, all the emotions because of how the playoff game ended last year. You know, they're going to show that play 1,000 freaking times. Can Breeze go in there and get it done? The Minnesota defense has been much softer than it has been. So I see this game as a bit of a shootout with, could be kind of an all-timer along the Pats-Chiefs sort of game that we saw a couple weeks ago. I like New Orleans this year, and I like New Orleans to go in there and get it done. I think they win the game.
Wow, okay. I do like how New Orleans has been playing on the road this year. When we picked Baltimore, we both one of the main things was because the Ravens were at home and the Saints usually aren't as effective on the road, but they've really stepped it up. Their one loss was at home, so they're undefeated on the road. But I think Minnesota's getting it going. That Buffalo shit loss was a wake up, and that tie was a wake up for them, and they're really getting into gear now. And they get Everson Griffin back for some psychological issues.
I know he's back at practices. Is he going to suit up?
Even if he doesn't play, it's going to give that defense a little bit of a boost.
Little shot in the arm.
Yeah, knowing that he's a well respected teammate. So and I think they're gonna keep it going and put the Saints' first road loss on them this week. So we disagree there.
All right, mark it down. We have a little disagreement. Regardless, Great game. It's going to be a great game. I don't see any way that it will not be a great game. Definitely the game I'm most looking forward to this weekend.
Either way, 2.5 minutes into the game, that stupid brrr is going to be frickin'. It's going to be the most annoying thing fucking ever. So that's a guarantee.
You don't like the horn.
Thankfully, I'll be deposed Sunday night, so I'll be having to catch the game, and I could. When I DVR it, I'll forward through all that nonsense.
Through the horn. We will not listen to the horn.
I'll DVR it on mute, yes.
Another marquee matchup this week. We don't need to talk about their game the past week, but we talked about the Rams a bit. Green Bay going to Los Angeles. To me, this is more of a marquee matchup kind of in the media's eyes than it will actually be on the field.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Rams are going to spank them. I told you. I mean, even coming off the bye, I haven't liked what I've seen from Green Bay, especially defensively. And even offensively, Rodgers is great, but he doesn't have a lot around him. And they tend to have cold spells. And I mean, the Rams' defense is playing well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams, flat out embarrass them and beat them, 35-7 or something.
Oh, yeah. To me, this is a missable game. This is going to be like a 50 burger probably. And it's only for fringe fans that that Aaron Rodgers is the only NFL player they can name and stuff like that, because this is going to be a massacre, because Green Bay, the coordinators and the players on defense change, but it's just still the same results. They can't stop anybody. And if the Packers could barely beat the 49ers, come on, they're going into the Rams. This is going to be a 50-21.
There it is. Rams and a laugher. We both called the laugher for the Rams. Sorry to all our loyal Green Bay fan listeners, however many there are of you, but it's true. It's true.
And I hate to do this, but we have to take a minute to give the old Godfather, special props, Nostra Zero. We break his balls a lot, but he had a perfect record last week on the weekly picks. That's quite an accomplishment because there were a lot of tough games, and to go perfect was that was quite a feat. So props to Mr. Nostra Zero.
Congratulations, JT. It's an impressive thing to do. Maybe you should be on here, and we should be.
Yeah,
talking about fake sports.
I lost about fucking 6 games, so yeah.
Hey, my excuse is I'm a little bit behind now, so I have to kind of pick some doozies, trying to make up ground. That's defeat right there, man. That never works out, man. Yeah, so looking at the schedule here, I think Baltimore at Carolina is another good game. We talked about both of them. Both of them coming, Baltimore coming off a tough loss, Carolina coming off an unlikely win in Carolina. All the signs point Carolina, which means Baltimore will probably win.
Nah, actually, I hate that I see it. I don't like to deal with point spreads and stuff. I'm a reformed gambler and all that. But I saw that Baltimore's favored by 3. I would think that's one of those even games where the home team gets the.
Are they really?
Gets a 3.5. Yeah.
I haven't seen anything. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if it's crazy, but yeah.
Well, it's in Carolina. Anyway.
Yeah, but I guess they don't respect the fact that Carolina just pulled those 2 victories out of their ass versus the Eagles and the Giants. They needed one was a 70-yard field goal, and the other one was when they played a good 10 minutes.
It's true.
Played a good 10 minutes of football. So I guess the prognostic doofuses don't respect Carolina too much.
Yep. I kind of like Carolina in that game, especially. I didn't think it was like an underdog.
I think they're gonna wake up and they're gonna realize that they're lucky to be where they are, and they're gonna put a good game together. And
home field means so much in the NFL. In these, there's so many matchups like this where the teams are somewhat even.
You do see a lot of road upsets like that Saints went into the Ravens. It took a once in a lifetime Justin Tucker to seal it, but the fact that they were right there, I mean, they were ahead with a minute to go. They were ahead by a touchdown. So
you say that, but if that game was in New Orleans, they'd be, we wouldn't even consider picking Baltimore, right? It's not like a real even game. I guess Houston Jacksonville is a good example of an even game where the home team sucked and got beat.
Yeah. But some teams are improving. As I was praising the Saints before, they've really they never used to be competitive at all on the road. It was just a wrap that you could pick against them on the road. It was
like death and taxes. Yep.
Yeah, but they really stepped it up. So.
Who do you like though? You like Baltimore in that one?
No. I like Carolina.
All right, we're both on Carolina.
I think they're going to put a good game together.
That means if you're not something we do, but you guys out there should probably just lay the points. No, just kidding. Last but not least, let's talk about the Steelers. Cleveland going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming off a bye week. Cleveland coming off yet another crazy overtime game, overtime defeat. Any chance in hell that Cleveland wins this game, or do you think the Steelers just stomp them? I think the Steelers are just
I'd be
stomp
shocked.
them.
Yeah, I think the overtime games is going to start to catch up in Cleveland, which might not be which will probably be a blessing for them a couple of years from now, because they could shit can Hugh Jackson if they slide into a 5-10-1 season. But I think all these overtime games are starting to catch up to them, and this is where it's going to happen, and the Steelers are going to put it together coming off their bye.
Did you see Hugh this week said something along the lines of talking about potentially taking over the play calling duties from Haley? You think he's going to make it through the season?
Yeah, I don't see any disasters where any coaches are going to get fired mid-season. The only time you see that is when there's other disasters where teams stop playing, and like with the shit Giants last year, just awful decisions. I think everybody's going to make it through the season, but it would be a blessing for them And there's a couple of the teams in the same situation where towards the end of the season where you're just fighting to get to like 6 or 7 wins. That's just to keep a coach's job, but it kills your draft position. And also, you may be better off with a new coach.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, after 3 or 4 years, your coach is what he is. Right. I hate to say it, but the Jets might be in that situation.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, they've talked about moving on from him. The Cleveland's definitely in that situation. I don't think he was a very good coach. And the only reason I said that we could potentially go midseason is they kind of have someone there. Like, I mean, Haley could coach the team, right? If needed.
Yeah, but like him and like Bulls, they're both kind of likable. Where the teams will still play for them, and instead of going 5 and 6 wins, they'll win those last 2 games to get you to 7-8.
Yeah. Rex Ryan was a lot like that too.
Yeah, and that gets you in trouble because it shits your draft position, and then you're stuck with the guy for the next year where they can only take it to that certain level.
Who was the Dolphins coach? Same thing. Joe Philbin, right? Same kind of deal.
Yeah.
Every year, I'm with you. All right, John. So, sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. John, you want to talk about your weekly column?
Yes, this week I grouped kind of every team as far as how your favorite team has a chance of going to the Super Bowl into like basic 4 groups, like Super Bowl contenders, and ranging from those to ranging to the Bye Felicia teams that don't have a chance, and ranging to a group of teams that maybe have a chance to get to the playoffs. So it's interesting.
Contenders, huh?
Contenders, yeah. Contenders and pretenders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So check out John every Wednesday on placetobenation.com.
So next week at the halfway point, are we going to do maybe we'll mix in some mid-season awards or something?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, tune in next week. We'll blow this thing out. We'll do an hour and a half instead of an hour. We'll do our mid-season awards.
Some surprises and some strange awards and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the season just flies by. It feels like it just started, and boom, after this week, it's to your point, half done. So. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoy doing the show weekly with you. I know our fan base is growing, so hopefully you guys enjoy listening as much as John and I enjoy doing it. Because what you don't know is that the show doesn't end when I hit the stop button here, because all week we're back and forth via Messenger, kind of pointing out each other's successes and failures, and gearing up to give you this hour.
And we share tweets from great NFL insiders like Adam Schefter and Jason La Canfora.
That's how you pronounce that one. La Canfora? Jason La Canfora, friend of Place to Be Nation, Jason La Canfora. He's a great mind.
Yeah, and also we break each other's balls a lot during the week.
I know that's a shock. I know that comes as a shock to the listeners, but we do. So, good stuff. It's going to be a good week. If you can stomach it, tune in for Miami at Houston tomorrow. I don't want to say tomorrow night because we don't know when this will post on Thursday night. And you have a great Sunday night game, New Orleans at Minnesota. And like John said, given the result on Monday night, might be a good time to take the husband and or wife and or significant other out. Spend a night out with the significant other. So for John, I'm the Cowboy. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk soon.
Peace, brother. You're my significant other.
Absolutely.